Welcome back, everybody. This Week in America. Of course, the website thisweekinamerica.us. As mentioned, our guest on the program coming to us via Skype from Sweden is Anders Wennerstrom. He has a collection of verse we're talking about. His new project is called Another Side of Thoughts. His website is very simple, anothersideofthoughts.com. Anders, welcome to This Week in America. It's great to have you with us on the program. Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
It is such a fascinating work of verse that you've done, and we'll talk about that in great detail during the course of the program. I want to go back and find out a little bit about you and where this talent, this art developed in you. Let's go back to the teenage years. You said at that point you decided you wanted to be a writer. What was it about writing as a teenager that you thought, this is really something I seriously would like to pursue?
Yeah, that's interesting. I don't know if I can ever rationalize that for sure, but there was a desire, I think, to express myself, express a kind of belonging to people and belonging to myself, I would say, a belonging where I was at the moment in life, and also you can say that it was a necessary way for me to find a certain feelings for myself, a feeling that was connecting myself to my thoughts, more or less, my inner thinking, and that has followed me during the years as I have practiced art and developed my art skills, and so that's my kind of inner voice for expression. That's where it all starts with.
And we sense this self-reflection as we read the book called Another Side of Thoughts. Anders Wennerstrom, our guest in the program. His website is anothersideofthoughts.com. You can link on directly to Anders' website by going to our website, thisweekinamerica.us. When you decided that writing was going to be a good outlet for you to help you express yourself and find out more about yourself, why did you choose poetry? That's always sort of tricky to be able to take your thoughts and put them in verse form like that.
Yeah, the simple answer to that is that I think I'm too lazy to write really. I mean, thick books and so on. So that's maybe one answer. But another answer is that I like to condense things to a kind of a key points of how I think. Not necessarily to kind of write long things, long sequences of thoughts. But to condense, the very key points, and that's have always been important for me to see a kind of a picture of several things in one picture, and that is this metonymic thing that I think has been important.
Well, and as you read Another Side of Thoughts, that is something that really jumps out as I'm reading, because it's like, I understand what you're saying. You said it very succinctly, and it's really powerful that way, isn't it? It doesn't take you a lot of extra words to get right to what it is the thought you're trying to relate to the reader.
Yeah, I mean, as they used to say that one picture says more than 1,000 words, but yes. I think that in poetry you can actually, it has that quality that pictures actually has. It condenses things, and it grouping things together in one moment, and that's what poetry is all about. I think, to kind of condense the most of life and do it, yeah, kind of simple in a simple picture. It can say so much. Yeah, so that's how I think, at least, about this topic of poetry.
Talk a little bit about the role of arts in your life. You said when you were around 20, you got interested in the theater. That was your way into the arts, and you've been there literally ever since. Talk about the importance of arts for you in developing your message and then getting that message out to literally thousands of people.
Yeah. It has taken me a while, I must say, to come to this point to talk to you here. I mean, I started to study theater when I was around 20, and that is 23 years ago now, and it has been a long process, you can say, a very long process with a lot of side steps and a lot of problems and all kinds of stuff. But always this kind of art things has been the core of my life ever since, and I can see that I read the world through art. I see the world through art. I see politics through art. I see society through art. I see people through art. I see my understanding as a teacher through art, and that is this kind of artistic transformation of things that interest me in all aspects of life, and yeah, so that's really important. This art thing that is so questioned many times by people and society and so on. So that's it really needs to be defended, I think.
This is the second book that you've published. The book we're speaking about is Another Side of Thoughts. Anders Wennerstrom, our guest on This Week in America. Anders' website is anothersideofthoughts.com. Go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, and link on directly. And this is your second book. This is the first you've written in English. So you're taking on a real challenge here because English is a second language for you. Why did you decide I would like to do this one? The first was in your native language. Why I would like to do this one in English?
Yeah, that is a peculiar thing. I think to write poetry in another language than your native language. That is really. I mean, poetry is something that we relate to our mother tongue, I think, for sure. And the simple question is that I got into I started to study in Ireland in Dublin 2011, and before that I was in Manchester in England and studied the English language, and there I started to write poetry for my language development, more or less, you can say, even though I already had been an artist for many years, and that poetry writing in English started a process where I could see that suddenly my censorship for my writing started to vanish. I started to be free with this kind of language that was foreign to me, and that I felt that I didn't need to kind of censor myself anymore. I gave myself right with the English language to say what I thought really about things deep in my ethical thinking and all kinds of stuff. So that was really a discovery I did, that suddenly this foreign language opened door for my art and my poetry that I before maybe had struggled with, I think.
It's interesting. So this gave you what sort of a sense of freedom?
Yeah, it gave me I would say almost a complete freedom, and that's yeah, and I was surprised that I could say such things without feeling embarrassed. You know, I could say things that in Swedish I would blush. You know, I would blush and feel embarrassed, and that was such a freedom, that discovery, and then I started to really go into this kind of project that I made with the English language, and yeah, the strange thing is here. I started to write poems in English on Facebook, actually, and Facebook was my kind of frame for this book, Another Side of Thoughts. I wrote almost all material on Facebook first of all, before I copied it and took it to my Word document and edited. But the first version was written on Facebook, and that is interesting because I felt when I was on Facebook that okay, I write in English. I have a feeling that I'm free here with the English language, but I also got the attention that people see what I write, people see what I do, and that gave me different subjects for my thoughts. I know I had subjects that I could bring my pen to.
Well, yeah, and Talk a little bit about those early experiences on Facebook and the response that you got from people who had an opportunity to read these, because you really talk about a number of topics that many people choose to stay silent about. What kind of response did you get when you're originally posting these on Facebook?
Yeah, to be honest with you, I think they was kind of shocked. People was kind of shocked that I didn't got that much attention. I didn't got that much reply from them, but I know that I liked it from time to time, and I felt that this was important for me to have these faces looking at me while I were writing, and that gave a kind of tension to this text that I don't think I would ever have if it weren't for Facebook. Yeah, I'm sure about that.
You know, we're talking about the book Another Side of Thoughts, a collection of verse written by Anders Wennerstrom, our guest on This Week in America. Anders coming to us from Sweden. His website is anothersideofthoughts.com. Click on directly at our website, thisweekinamerica.us. You say, I need to be understood by the sharing of ideas. Talk a little bit about why that need is there and some of the ideas that you have that you express in the course of Another Side of Thoughts.
Yeah, and to be understood is everybody's wish. I think that is the core for every writer and every artist. The need to be understood. That is really important because somewhere most artists feel that they haven't been understood maybe, and I can share that feeling absolutely. So that is serious stuff, you can say, not to be understood, having the feeling that you aren't understood, and that is following the whole discussion in Another Side of Thoughts is kind of dealing with this topic of outsidership, I would almost say, and how to negotiate your outsider role with society and other people, and to speak about, for example, criminality, transgender sexuality, and things that can be kind of hard to speak about. That needs to be negotiated by myself, but also how I relate to the world outside myself. So that's and that there is again how this English language made myself free, that I could start to come down to things that could be felt to be almost scary to talk about, and that's where this text is. That is. It exists actually on these spots where it is a kind of frightening place to be at, I think. Yeah.
Well, yeah, and I would describe you as a thought leader, and I would think that would be sort of a precarious place depending on your attitude going into that, because you're initiating discussion on topics, again, that some people may be uncomfortable with, that some people don't talk about, but you're forwarding the conversation. How difficult is that to be in that position where you're throwing these ideas out there in such a way that you really want some response? You want people to at least think about your posting.
Yeah, of course I do, and I'm sure they do, and that's. But it is also a lonely place to be at, I think.
Yes.
It is really lonely to be this kind of saying hard things that everybody is thinking about, but really, I know for sure that it isn't usual on Facebook to write as I do. That's for sure, and I think so that's maybe kind of unique in a way, but yeah, it's a difficult question that what that means for me as a person and as an artist. That I would say lonely, but it's still not hopeless. I think I don't feel myself hopeless. I don't feel that I don't feel myself left alone in the way that I am. That all hope is gone. No, not the opposite. I think that it is a positive place to be at if you really decide to be there, if you really take the decision to say things that not much often are said, and do it for real, and take the fight with that, and dare to be, be strong.
So much of, and we're talking about Another Side of Thoughts. That's the name of the collection of verse written by Anders Wennerstrom. His website is anothersideofthoughts.com. This comes from a whole lot of observing. Obviously, you've spent a great deal of time observing, probably asking questions, at least mentally, as to why something is the way it is. Has that been a sort of a curiosity and observation quality? Has that been something you've had all your life?
Yeah, well, at least subconsciously, I think.
Yes.
That's where it comes from, I think. I don't think I during my whole life have expressed this kind of qualities that this book has. For sure not. But with myself, with my silent self, that my early life, we can say.
What do you want us to take away from reading Another Side of Thoughts? What are your goals as someone who reads this? What response do you want? What's the takeaway that you hope people have from reading Another Side of Thoughts?
Yeah, the most important thing here is that I make visible what is obscure in our minds, it is almost like an imprint from my own mind on the social body that I see around myself, you can say. I observe reality, and it is my kind of imprint in mind from that reality that this book is about. It is an imprint from myself, in myself, you can say. That is the question of the other, always the other human that I see, that I am with, and that I live with, and that I have meetings with, and that I love, and all this kind of stuff. That is really important here, that this kind of quest for the other person, so that it's not only myself that speaks this kind of rough things that I do, hard things at least. It is a companionship within myself, with the other, an experience of the other within myself, and that is at least the theoretical building this text is laying on, you can say.
Yeah.
The other.
As you're reading this, and Anders is presenting a topic, introducing a topic, you sort of start thinking and relaying it back to your life. You can see your circumstances, how you would respond. Maybe it's an incident that you can recall in your life. A minute or so left in the program. What has this meant to you to be able to express yourself this way and to be able to move the dialogue on some very, very important topics?
Yeah, that is interesting to say this word "move." That is really that is also very important, I think, to move the text in sequences, and that, I think that comes from my theater training, really. That this kind of doing kind of movements where build sequences on sequences, and that's this text is following that route, actually. This kind of sequencing, and moving topics and meanings from one another in a line, you can say, that develops and so
well, you're doing an excellent job with that. The book we're talking about is Another Side of Thoughts. Our guest on the program is Anders Wennerstrom. That's Wennerstrom. The website, again, anothersideofthoughts.com. That's the name of the book, Another Side of Thoughts. If you go to our website, thisweekinamerica.us, you can link on directly to Anders' website. An excellent website, gives you information on Anders, gives you information on the book. And it's really a very thought-provoking book. Another Side of Thoughts, website, anothersideofthoughts.com. Anders, it was a pleasure having an opportunity to read your book. Pleasure having you on the program. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thanks for having me.
It is our pleasure. Once again, the book, Another Side of Thoughts, at Anders' website, anothersideofthoughts.com. And of course, you'll find all the information at our website, thisweekinamerica.us.